Asha woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun had not yet come up in Nairobi. The sky was still dark and quiet. She moved slowly out of bed so she would not wake her husband Tund. He was sleeping deeply, his face peaceful, his breathing soft. She had learned to move like this over many years. Quietly. Without making noise. Without taking up too much space. She went to the kitchen and started to make tea. While the water boiled, she looked out the window at the small apartment building across the street. Many people were already moving inside. Early morning in the city meant that many people were already working. She thought about the day ahead of her. Would be a long day. They always were. Tund came into the kitchen while she was making breakfast. He looked tired even though he had just woken up. His eyes were red and his hair was not combed. He had been working on his computer until very late the night before. She could hear the keyboard clicking even after she had gone to sleep at midnight. When she woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, he was still there, staring at the screen, typing, thinking, dreaming about his business idea. "Good morning," Asha said to him. She smiled even though she was very tired. She had not slept well. She kept thinking about everything she needed to do today. Tund did not smile back. He just nodded. He sat down at the small table in their small kitchen and looked at his phone. He was always looking at his phone now. Asha put a plate of food in front of him. Eggs, toast, a cup of tea. It was simple food. She had made it with the eggs they had bought 2 days ago and the bread from the shop near their home. Tund ate without tasting it. He was thinking about something else. His mind was somewhere else, somewhere far away. This was normal now. This was how their mornings went. Asha's job as a marketing manager was good. It paid well. She worked for a big company that had many important clients. The office was nice and clean. The people were professional. But she did not like it anymore. Or maybe she did like it, but she liked something else more. She liked the look in Tund's eyes when he talked about his dream. She liked the way his whole face changed when he spoke about his business idea. He wanted to build a software company. He wanted to make programs that could help businesses work better and faster. He had studied computer science in university. He was smart. He was very smart. But he did not have money. And he did not have time. So one day, about a month before this morning, Asha had made a decision. It was a big decision. The biggest decision she had ever made in her life. She had walked into her manager's office and she had resigned. She wrote a letter and she handed it to him and she said the words out loud. "I am leaving my job." Her hands were shaking when she did this. Her voice was very quiet. Her manager was surprised. He asked her why she was leaving. Was there a problem? Was someone treating her badly? Did she want more money? She told him no. She told him that she wanted to do something else with her life. She wanted to help her husband build his dream. Her manager did not understand. He told her she was making a mistake. He told her that jobs like hers were hard to find. He told her that she was throwing away a good future. But Asha had already made up her mind. When she told Tund that she had resigned, he did not believe her at first. He thought she was joking. But when she showed him the letter and told him it was real, his face changed. He looked shocked and afraid and happy all at the same time. He held her very tight and he cried a little bit. He said, "Asha, what have you done? This is too much. I cannot let you do this." But Asha told him that she wanted to do this. She wanted to support him. She wanted to believe in his dream. She wanted to be part of something big and important. And most of all, she loved him. She loved him so much that she was willing to give up her job. Now, 1 month later, they were struggling. The money from her final paychecks was running out. Tund was working from home, building his company from their small apartment. He had bought a computer and some software with the little money they had saved. Asha had found some small work. She did freelance marketing work for small businesses. She made money by writing advertisements and making social media posts for companies. The money was not much, but it was something. She also took care of Kai and Zara. Kai was 5 years old and Zara was 3. They were beautiful children. They were kind and funny and smart. But they needed so much. They needed food and clothes and books for school. They needed attention. They needed their mother to be there when they came home from their activities. Asha was there. She was always there. But she was also very tired. The days were long and hard. She would wake up early and make breakfast and take the children to school. Then she would come home and do freelance work. She would sit at her small desk in the corner of the living room and she would write and design and think about marketing ideas. In the afternoon, she would pick up the children from school and help them with their homework. She would play with them and feed them dinner. After they were in bed, she would do more freelance work. Sometimes she would work until midnight or later. And sometimes she would still hear Tund's computer keyboard clicking away in the other room. Her mother called her one night and asked her if she was okay. Asha's mother was worried. She lived in a different town many hours away. She said, "Asha, you have given up so much. What if this does not work? What if your husband's business fails? Then you will have nothing." Asha did not know what to say. She had thought about this too. She was afraid of this. But she had faith. She believed in Tund. She believed in his dream. "Mama," she said, "I trust him. I trust us. We are building something together." When she hung up the phone, she was crying a little bit. But she did not let Tund see. She did not want him to worry. She did not want him to feel guilty about what she had given up. She wanted him to be free to work and to dream and to build his company without thinking about her sacrifice. So she smiled when he asked her how her day was. She said everything was good. She said she was happy. She said she had no regrets. And she meant it. Even though she was tired. Even though she was scared. Even though sometimes she wondered if she had made the right choice. She meant what she said. Because love is not about being smart or being safe. Love is about believing in someone. Love is about being willing to sacrifice. And Asha loved Tund with all of her heart. 3 years had passed. 3 years of hard work and sacrifice and hope. 3 years of Asha working late into the night while Tund built his dream. And now, on a Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Tund called Asha while she was at the market buying vegetables. His voice was shaking. He could barely speak. "Asha," he said. "Asha, can you hear me?" They said yes. They said yes to everything. Asha did not understand at first. She was holding a bag of tomatoes and standing in the middle of the crowded market. People were pushing past her. Vendors were shouting about their goods. She could not hear him well. "Who said yes?" she asked. "The investors," Tund said. His voice was loud and excited now. "The big company from South Africa. They want to give us money. So much money, Asha. This is it. This is really it. We are going to make it." Asha dropped the bag of tomatoes. They fell on the ground and rolled away. She did not care. She started crying right there in the middle of the market. An old woman selling oranges looked at her and smiled. "Good news?" the woman asked. "Yes," Asha said. "Yes, very good news." She left the market and went home. She sat down on the bed and she cried more. These were happy tears. These were tears of relief. All of the nights she had stayed awake. All of the time she had not spent with her friends. All of the money she had given up from her job. All of it was for this. All of it had meant something. That night, Tund took her to a fancy restaurant. It was the most expensive place they had ever been to. The lights were soft and yellow. The tables were covered with white cloth. The waiters wore black suits and were very polite. They ordered food that they could not pronounce. They drank wine in glasses that looked like they could break very easily. Tund held her hand across the table. His eyes were shining with happiness. He said, "Asha, none of this would have happened without you. You believed in me when nobody else did. You gave up everything for me. And now look at us. Look at what we have done." Asha squeezed his hand. She felt like the luckiest woman in the world. She felt like all of her sacrifice had been worth it. She felt like they were going to build something beautiful together. And they did build something beautiful. But it was not quite what she thought it would be. The first thing that changed was their home. They moved out of the small apartment. They moved into a big house in Westlands, one of the nicest parts of Nairobi. The house had 3 stories. It had big windows and beautiful gardens. It had a swimming pool in the back. When Asha first walked into the house, she could not believe it was theirs. She walked through every room and touched the walls and looked out at the garden. "This is ours?" she asked Tund. "Really ours?" "Really ours," he said. And he smiled at her. Asha decorated the house carefully. She chose colors that made her think of their journey. She put pictures on the walls. She arranged furniture in ways that made the rooms feel warm and full of life. She wanted the house to tell their story. She wanted it to be a place where they remembered all that they had overcome. Tund bought a new car. It was a big car. A Range Rover. It was black and shiny and very expensive. He drove it proudly. He would tell people, "Yes, I drive a Range Rover now. My business is doing very well." He also bought expensive clothes. He bought watches that cost more money than Asha used to make in a month. He bought shoes made from leather that felt soft. He dressed like a successful man because he was a successful man now. But something else was changing too. Something that Asha did not notice at first. It was very small. Very quiet. But it was there. Tund started working even more. He was hardly ever home. He would leave early in the morning before the children woke up. He would come home late at night when they were already sleeping. When he was home, he was usually on his phone or his computer. His mind was always somewhere else. He started going to parties and events without Asha. Important business events where important people went. When Asha asked if she could go with him, he would say, "No, no. It is just business talk. You would be bored. And the children need you at home." So Asha stayed home. She stayed home with Kai and Zara. She read them stories and helped them with their homework. She put them to bed and tucked them in and kissed their foreheads. She did what mothers do. And she told herself that this was okay. This was part of his work. This was part of his success. One day, Asha saw an interview in a magazine. Tun was on the cover. The headline said, "The Self-Made Man, Tun's Journey to Success." She bought the magazine and she read it carefully. In the interview, Tun talked about building his company from nothing. He talked about working alone and believing in his vision. He talked about how hard work and determination had made him successful. He talked about being a man who never gave up. Asha read the words carefully. She looked for her name. She looked for any mention of the woman who had resigned from her job. She looked for any mention of the woman who had worked nights. She looked for any mention of the woman who had believed in him when he did not believe in himself. Her name was not there. She kept reading. She read every word. But there was nothing. It was like she did not exist. Like she had not been part of his journey at all. Like she was just a shadow in the background. She felt something break inside her. It was a small break. But it was there. That evening she found Tund in his office. She held the magazine in her hands. She said, "Tund, I read your interview." He looked up from his computer. He did not look happy or sad. He just looked tired. "And," he said. "And you did not mention me," she said. "You talked about building the company alone. But I was there. I helped you. I supported you." Tund turned back to his computer. He said, "Asha, that is just how these things work. They want to hear the story of one man and his dream. It is more interesting that way. It does not mean I do not know what you did. Of course I know what you did." But something about the way he said it made Asha feel small. It made her feel like what she had done did not really matter. It made her feel like she was being kind of silly for thinking it did. She left the office and went to the kitchen. She made tea even though she did not want tea. She needed something to do with her hands. A few weeks later, Asha discovered something else. She was looking at some business papers in Tun's office when she saw the company registration. TechVision Solutions. Registered in the name of Tund only. She held the paper in her hands and she felt cold. She called Tund. She said, "Why is the company only in your name?" He came into the office and he looked at the paper. He shrugged. He said, "It is just business, Asha. This is normal. One person's name on the registration. That is how it works." "But we built this together," she said. "I thought we built this together." "You did support me," he said. His voice was different now. It was not warm. It was not kind. It was just empty. "That is what wives do. But legally it makes sense for my name to be on it. You do not need to worry about it. You are taken care of. You have the house. You have the car. You have everything you need." Asha looked at the paper in her hands. She looked at Tun's name written there and only his name. And she realized something. She had given up everything. But she had nothing. Not really. Nothing with her name on it. Nothing that was hers. She said nothing more. She put the paper down and she walked out of the office. But she could not forget what she had discovered. The words echoed in her mind over and over. That is what wives do. It was a Tuesday morning in July. The sun was bright and hot outside. It was going to be a very warm day. Asha could feel the heat already even though it was still early. She was making breakfast in the kitchen. Eggs. Toast. Fresh juice from the oranges she had bought at the market. She was making this breakfast like she made it every morning. Like she had made it for 7 years. Tun came into the kitchen. He was dressed for work. He was wearing one of his expensive suits. His shoes were polished and shiny. He looked like a man who was important. A man who had power. A man who had everything he wanted. He sat down at the table. Asha put the breakfast in front of him. She smiled at him like she always did. She was about to sit down and eat her own breakfast when Tun said something. "Asha, I have something to tell you," he said. His voice was very calm. Very steady. Like he was about to tell her about the weather or about a business meeting. "Yes," she said. She sat down across from him. "I have decided that we should get a divorce," he said. He took a bite of his eggs. He did not look at her face. He looked at his plate. Asha thought she had not heard him correctly. She thought maybe the heat or the noise from outside had made her hear wrong words. "What did you say?" she asked quietly. "I said I have decided to file for divorce," Tun said. He said it like he was reading from a list of things he needed to do today. Like it was not the most important thing. Like it was not the thing that would break his wife's heart into 1,000 pieces. Asha felt the room spin. She felt like she could not breathe. She held on to the edge of the table to keep herself from falling. "Why?" she whispered. "Tund, what? What have I done?" Tund finally looked at her. But his eyes were empty. There was no love in them. There was no kindness. There was nothing that she recognized. "We have grown apart," he said. "We want different things. I think it is best if we go our separate ways." "But the children," Asha said. Her voice was shaking now. "Kai and Zara. They need us both. They need their parents together." "And they will have their parents," Tund said. He took another bite of his eggs. "But they will live with me. I can provide for them better now. I have the money. I have the house. I have everything they need." Asha stood up. She could not sit anymore. She could not stay in that chair and listen to him talk about taking her children away. "You cannot do this," she said. "They are my children too. I am their mother. I have raised them. I have been with them every single day of their lives." "And you will still have them," Tund said. He was still eating his breakfast. He was still not looking at her. "You can visit them. Every other weekend perhaps. We will work out the details with the lawyers." The word lawyers made everything real. This was not just a conversation. This was not just something he was thinking about. He had already planned this. He had already talked to lawyers. "You have already talked to lawyers?" Asha asked. "Yes," Tund said. "I met with them last week. I have everything prepared. I have documented everything. I have shown them that I am the main provider for this family. I have shown them that you are just a stay-at-home mother with no real income, with no real financial contributions. They think I have a very strong case." The words hit Asha like a fist. A stay-at-home mother with no real income. A stay-at-home mother with no real financial contributions. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw the plate of eggs at him. She wanted to tell him about all the nights she had worked, all the freelance work she had done, all the money she had made from her writing and her designs, all the time she had put that money back into their household, into their family. But she was too shocked to speak. She just stood there and stared at him. "I have also hired a very good lawyer," Tund continued. He finally pushed his empty plate away. "The best one in Nairobi. He is very expensive, but I can afford him now. He says that because I am the established breadwinner and because you have no stable employment, the court will most likely award me full custody. He says the case is very clear." "No," Asha said. "No. This is not fair. This is not right." "Life is not always fair," Tund said. He stood up from the table. He picked up his briefcase. "I will have my lawyer send you the papers. You should get your own lawyer if you want to fight this. But I am telling you now, Asha, you will not win. I have the money. I have the power. And I have the documentation. You have nothing." He walked toward the door. He did not kiss her goodbye like he used to. He did not say anything kind. He just walked out the door and closed it behind him. Asha heard his car start in the driveway. She heard the sound of the expensive car driving away. She stood in the kitchen for a very long time. She did not move. She did not cry. She just stood there and stared at the empty plate with the leftover eggs going cold. Later that day, after she had picked up the children from school, she sat them down in the living room. Kai was asking her why their father was not coming home for dinner. Zara was coloring in her book and not paying attention. Asha did not know what to tell them. She did not know how to explain that their father was taking them away, that her mother would only see them every other weekend. That night, after the children were asleep, Asha called her mother. She told her everything. She told her about the divorce. She told her about the lawyers. She told her about what Tund had said. Her mother listened quietly. Then she said, "Asha, you need to fight this. You need to get your own lawyer. You need to tell them what you have done for this family." "I do not have money for a good lawyer," Asha said. "Tund has all the money now. And he is right about one thing. I do not have stable employment anymore. I gave that up for him." "Yes," her mother said. "You gave up everything for him. And now he is throwing it back in your face. This is not right. This is not fair. But you must not give up. You must fight." Over the next few days, Asha received the papers from Tund's lawyer. She read them carefully. In the papers, Tund claimed that he had built his entire company by himself, that he was the sole creator and owner, that he had no help from anyone, that Asha was nothing but a stay-at-home mother who had contributed nothing financially. Every word was like a knife. Every word was a lie. But they were lies that had been written down. They were lies that were now official. They were lies that a judge might believe. Asha sat at her desk late into the night. She looked at all the emails she still had from when she had helped Tun build his company. She looked at the photographs of business plans she had helped him develop. She looked at the notes she had written with marketing ideas. She had saved everything. She had kept every piece of evidence of her work. But she did not know what to do with it. She did not know if it would matter. She did not know if anyone would listen to her or if she would just be another woman whose sacrifices were forgotten. She held the divorce papers in her hands and she felt afraid. She felt alone. She felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet and she was falling into darkness with nothing to hold on to. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear and the pain, there was something else. There was a small flame of anger. There was a small voice that said, "No. This is not right. You will fight this. You will make him see what he has done." She did not know if she would win. But she knew she had to try. Asha's friend Mimi gave her the name of a lawyer. Her name was Zola. Zola was a woman in her 50s. She had short hair and sharp eyes. She wore simple clothes and no jewelry except for a small gold ring on her left hand. When Asha first met her, Zola asked her to tell her story from the beginning. Asha sat in Zola's office and she talked for 3 hours. She told her about meeting Tund at university. She told her about his dream. She told her about resigning from her job. She told her about the long nights and the sacrifices. She told her about the discovery that the company was in his name only. She told her about the morning he announced the divorce like he was reading a shopping list. Zola listened to everything. She did not interrupt. She did not judge. She just listened and wrote things down in her notebook. When Asha finished, Zola looked at her and said, "Do you have any proof? Do you have any documents? Anything that shows your work?" Asha nodded. She had brought a folder. Inside were emails. Hundreds of emails. She had printed them all out. She had printed emails where she had given Tund business advice. She had printed emails where she had written marketing strategies. She had printed emails where she had discussed investor meetings with him. She had printed emails where she had suggested changes to his business plans and he had taken those suggestions. She also had notebooks. She had written down many things during those years. Ideas for the business, plans, thoughts. She had kept everything because she was organized. Because she believed that one day all of this work would matter. Zola looked through the folder slowly. She read the emails. She looked at the notebooks. Then she looked up at Asha and she smiled. "This is good," Zola said. "This is very good. But we need more. We need to show the judge not just what you wrote but what impact it had. We need to show how your work helped the company grow." Over the next few weeks, Asha and Zola prepared the case. Zola asked Asha to write down everything. Every decision she had made that helped the business. Every moment she remembered where her advice had mattered. Asha wrote pages and pages. Her hand hurt from writing but she did not stop. This was her story. This was the story that Tund had tried to erase. Zola also called people. She called people who had worked at TechVision. She called people who had been investors. She called people who knew both Tund and Asha during those early years. She asked them to come to court and tell what they knew. One day an old employee named David came to see Asha. He had worked at TechVision for 2 years. He said, "Asha, I remember you. I remember when you would come into the office and talk to Tund about the marketing plans. I remember you fixing the advertisements. I remember you making suggestions about how we should reach new customers. Tund would take your ideas and he would say they were his ideas. But I always knew it was you." Asha cried when he said this. Someone had seen her work. Someone had noticed. Someone remembered. Another person who came forward was Tund's first investor. His name was James. He said, "When I was considering giving money to TechVision, Tund brought his wife to the meeting. I remember her. I remember her asking very smart questions. I remember her understanding the business better than Tund did in some moments. I remember thinking that this man had a very good partner." These stories gave Asha hope. These stories meant that her work had not been invisible. Other people had seen it. Other people had known. Finally, the day of the court hearing came. Asha wore a simple blue dress. She wanted to look professional but not rich. She wanted to look like a woman who had worked hard. Zola told her, "Tell the truth. That is all you need to do. Tell the truth and let the judge decide." The courtroom was big and cold. There were wooden benches and a high desk where the judge sat. The judge was a woman. Her name was Judge Amara. She was about 60 years old. She had a kind face but her eyes were strong. She looked like a woman who had lived a hard life and understood the world. Tund's lawyer went first. He presented Tund's case. He showed documents that said TechVision Solutions was registered only in Tund's name. He presented financial records that showed Tund's income. He presented Tund's testimony that he had built the company by himself. He said, "Your Honor, Tund is the founder and owner of this company. He built it from nothing with his own skill and his own hard work. His wife was a stay-at-home mother. She did nothing to build this company. She is trying to take money that she did not earn." Then Zola stood up. She presented Asha's case. She showed the emails. Hundreds of them. She read some of them out loud. She read emails where Asha had written, "You should target the tech companies in Nairobi first. Here is my market research." She read emails where Asha had written, "Do not spend money on that advertising. It will not work. Try this instead." She read emails where Asha had written strategy and advice and smart business ideas. Then Zola called the witnesses. David came and told about seeing Asha work on the marketing. James came and told about meeting Asha and being impressed by her knowledge. Another woman named Rose came. She had also worked at Tech Vision. She said, Asha would call the office sometimes when she was at home with the children. She would ask about projects. She would give advice. Tund always listened to her. He would change his plans based on what she said. But he never told anyone it was her idea. He would take the credit. Then Asha herself took the stand. She sat in the chair and she put her hand on the Bible. She promised to tell the truth. Zola asked her questions and Asha answered them. She talked about resigning from her job. She talked about the long nights. She talked about helping Tund build the business while managing the house and the children. She talked about the emails and the advice she had given. She talked about discovering the company was registered only in his name. She talked about how it felt to be erased from her own husband's success story. When she finished, Tund's lawyer asked her questions. He tried to make it seem like her work was not important. He asked, "You just made suggestions, correct? You did not actually run the business." "No," Asha said. "But my suggestions helped the business grow. My work was necessary. Without me, Tund would not have had the time or the support to build the company." The lawyer asked, "Did you do this work for money? Or did you do it because you were his wife?" "I did it because I loved him," Asha said. "But that does not make my work less valuable. A mother who raises a child loves her child, but that does not make raising the child less important work." Finally, Judge Amara asked Asha questions. She asked, "Tell me, how many hours per week did you work on this business?" Asha thought carefully. "Maybe 15 to 20 hours per week in the beginning. More as we went along. I was also raising 2 small children and managing the household. So I was working maybe 60 hours per week total." Judge Amara nodded. She wrote something down. After all the testimony, Zola gave her final speech. She said, "Your Honor, this case is not complicated. This case is about a woman who sacrificed her career to help her husband build his dream. This case is about a man who took all the credit and gave none to his wife. This case is about whether the law recognizes that women's unpaid labor has value. We believe it does. We believe Asha deserves to be compensated for her work and for her sacrifice." Tund's lawyer gave his speech. He said that Asha was just a wife doing what wives do. He said that she was not a real business partner. He said that she did not deserve any of the company. Judge Amara sat quietly for a long time. She looked at all the evidence. She looked at the emails. She looked at the photographs of business plans. She looked at Asha. She looked at Tund. Then she said, "I am going to take some time to think about this case. I will give my decision in 1 week." Asha walked out of the courtroom feeling like she was floating. She did not know if she had won. But she had told her truth. She had made the judge listen. She had made the judge see her work. Now it was up to the judge to decide if her work mattered. 1 week later, Asha received a message from Zola's office. The judge had made her decision. Asha's hands were shaking when she read the message. She was afraid to go to the courthouse. She was afraid of what the judge might have decided. But she had to know. She dressed carefully that morning. She wore the same blue dress she had worn to court. She braided her hair neatly. She looked at herself in the mirror and she took a deep breath. Whatever happened today, she had fought. She had stood up for herself. That was something. Zola was waiting for her outside the courthouse. Zola smiled at her. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No," Asha said. "But let us go anyway." They walked into the courtroom. Tund was already there with his lawyer. He looked angry. He looked like a man who was not used to losing. Judge Amara came in and everyone stood up. She sat at her high desk and she picked up her papers. She looked at everyone in the room. "This has been a difficult case," she said. "But I believe the evidence is clear. I have read all the emails. I have listened to all the witnesses. I have thought carefully about the law and what it says about the contributions of spouses to a business. Asha held her breath. I have decided, Judge Amara said, that Asha made significant contributions to the building of TechVision solutions. While it is true that Tund was the founder and the technical creator, Asha provided crucial business advice, marketing strategy and management support. She also managed the household and raised 2 children largely alone so that Tund could work on the business. This is work. This is valuable work. And it helped build the company. Asha felt tears come to her eyes. Therefore, Judge Amara continued, I am awarding Asha 30% of the company's assets. I am also awarding her substantial monthly child support for the care of Kai and Zara. I am awarding her joint custody with Asha having primary guardianship. The children will live with Asha, and Tund will have visitation rights and will pay child support. The courtroom was quiet. Then Zola squeezed Asha's hand. Furthermore, Judge Amara said, I want to say that this case should be a message to all people. When a spouse sacrifices their career to support the building of a family business, that sacrifice has value. The law recognizes this value. This case will be documented as a precedent for future cases like this one. When Judge Amara finished, Asha was crying. Not sad tears. Happy tears. Relief tears. The tears of a woman who had finally been heard. Outside the courthouse, reporters wanted to talk to her. They asked her questions about the case. Asha did not want to talk to them at first. But Zola encouraged her. Tell them your story, Zola said. Tell other women that they can fight. Tell them that their work matters. So Asha spoke to the reporters. She said, I am not angry anymore. I'm not even sad. I'm just grateful that the judge understood. I am grateful that the law recognized that my work had value. I want other women to know that if you sacrifice for your family business, document everything. Save your emails. Keep your notes. Because one day you might need proof that your work mattered. The story was in the newspapers. Was on the radio. People in Nairobi were talking about Asha's case. Some people supported her. Some people criticized her. Some people said that wives should never fight their husbands. But most people said that the judge had made the right decision. 3 months later, Asha received her settlement. The money was in her bank account. When she saw the numbers, she almost could not believe it. She had money now. Real money. For the first time in 7 years, she had her own money. She thought about what to do with it. She could buy nice things. She could travel. She could rest. She deserved to rest. But instead she made a decision. She decided to start her own business. She decided to start a company that would help other entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs. She decided to teach women about business and marketing and strategy. She decided to help women understand their value. She called her company, Asha's Dream. She rented a small office in a business district. She bought computers and desks. She put up pictures on the walls. She made the office feel warm and welcoming. Then she started teaching. She taught classes about business basics. She taught classes about how to protect yourself in a marriage when you are building a business. She taught classes about marketing and strategy. She taught classes about believing in yourself. Women started coming to her classes. Young women, older women, married women, single women, women who had business ideas, women who wanted to protect themselves, women who had experienced what Asha had experienced. One of the first women who came to her class was named Lena. Lena was married. Her husband was starting a new company and she wanted to help him. But she was afraid. She was afraid of what might happen. Asha held her hand and she said, "It is good to help your husband. But you must protect yourself. You must document your work. You must make sure your contributions are recognized." Lena listened carefully. She took notes. She asked many questions. After the class she asked Asha, "Will you help me? Will you help me understand how to protect myself?" "Yes," Asha said. "I will help you. And I will help every woman who comes here. Because no woman should experience what I experienced. No woman should have her work erased. No woman should be thrown away after she has sacrificed everything." Over the next year, Asha's dream grew. More women came. More women learned. More women understood that their work had value. Some of the women went on to start their own businesses. Some of the women protected themselves in their marriages by documenting their work and getting their names on documents legally. Some of the women just felt stronger. Just felt like they mattered. One day, a newspaper reporter came to interview Asha. She asked, "Asha, what do you want women to know? What is the most important message?" Asha thought carefully. She looked around her office at all the women who were there. She looked at their faces. She saw hope in their faces. She saw strength. "I want women to know that their work matters," Asha said. I want women to know that sacrifice is a choice, not an obligation. I want women to know that loving someone does not mean erasing yourself. I want women to know that they deserve to be recognized for their contributions. And most importantly, I want women to know that they are not alone. That if they are ever treated unfairly, they can fight. They can stand up. They can win. Years passed. Asha's dream became well known in Nairobi. Other cities asked Asha to come and teach classes there. She went to Kampala. She went to Lagos. She went to Dar es Salaam. She told her story over and over. And every time she told her story, women listened. Women learned. Women changed their lives. Kai and Zara grew up seeing their mother as a strong woman. They saw her fight for herself. They saw her build something new. They saw her help other women. Kai told Asha one day, "Mama, you are my hero. You showed me that women can be strong and brave." Zara said, "Mama, when I grow up, I want to be like you. I want to help people." Asha held her children close and she cried happy tears. One day about 5 years after the court case, Asha saw Tund. She was at a restaurant with a friend and he walked in. He looked older. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had lost something important. When he saw Asha, he stopped. He wanted to leave, but Asha called to him. "Hello, Tund," she said. He came to her table slowly. "Hello, Asha," he said quietly. "How are you?" she asked. "I am well," he said. "The business is still doing very well. I am doing very well." "That is good," Asha said. And she meant it. She did not hate him anymore. She had let go of the anger. She had moved on. "I wanted to say," Tund said, "I am sorry. I was wrong. I took your work for granted. I acted like you did not matter. I am sorry." Asha looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "I know. And I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve to be free from the anger. I deserve to move forward without carrying the weight of what you did to me." Tund nodded. He had nothing more to say. After he left, Asha's friend asked, "Are you okay?" "Yes," Asha said. "I am more than okay. I am free." And it was true. Asha had reclaimed her story. She had taken her sacrifice and turned it into strength. She had taken her pain and turned it into purpose. She had taken her loss and turned it into helping others. She had not just won a court case. She had won her life back. And in winning her life back, she had helped rewrite the rules for every woman who came after her. She had shown that women's work matters. She had shown that sacrifice does not mean erasure. She had shown that fighting for yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is right. It is the only way to truly be free.